Welcome to The Secret Place with Bennett, devotions for hungry hearts and searching souls. Hi everybody, welcome to The Secret Place with Bennett. I am here today to read to you from an old favorite, Henri Nouwen, otherwise known as Henri Nouwen, if you want to be all French and say it that way. Today's reading is, you're going to be surprised what I'm going to talk about today. I never talk about this. But today's reading is it's from his conclusion. And he's kind of summarizing a little bit of the book. He says, "My movement from Harvard to L'Arche made me aware in a new way how much my own thinking about Christian leadership had been affected by the desire to be relevant, the desire for popularity, and the desire for power. Too often, I looked at being relevant, popular, and powerful as ingredients of effective ministry. The truth, however, is that these are not vocations, but temptations. Jesus asks, 'Do you love me?' Jesus sends us out to be shepherds, and Jesus promises a life in which we increasingly have to stretch out our hands and be led to places where we would rather not go. He asks us to move from a concern for relevance to a life of prayer, from worries about popularity to communal and mutual ministry, and from a leadership built on power to a leadership in which we critically discern where God is leading us and our people." That's Henri Nouwen. I think it's been 25 years. I could be wrong here, but it has been a heck of a long time since I've talked about leadership or even wanted to talk about leadership. I have to tell you, I was so sick of, in the 90s, when the push came about, all we need is stronger leaders. All we need is better leaders. It was like, I was like, no, we need the leaders we have, the people we have to teach others about mutuality and what it means to work and live as a team and communally. And yet there was so much emphasis back then in the 90s in our institutions, in education, in churches, hospitals, so much that I read back then about leadership. I thought I'd never want to write about it or talk about it. But, times change. It has been 25 years. And I also knew a couple of really corrupt, very, very poor leaders, people I wouldn't even call leaders, but they called themselves leaders. And so I just never wanted any kind of bitterness or harshness to come out, or because some people really have grown by getting to know and listening to strong, good leaders. And I've never wanted to oppose that or hinder anybody's growth. So I haven't said anything about leadership for a very long time. But recently, I've been coming to peace with it. The leadership that really does not work, that is so rigidly hierarchical, is truly that leadership that is affected by the desire to be relevant, the desire for popularity, and the desire for power. So if you have either come across anyone who's tried to lead you or been in a leadership position above you that has had unspoken or spoken this desire for power, usually it's unspoken, popularity and relevance, you have suffered under it. I am sure you have suffered under it. You have been unseen, you've been belittled, you've been micromanaged, you've been maybe you've been abused, spat upon, or maybe just ignored. And sometimes ignored and treated as irrelevant is the harshest kind of treatment by these would-be leaders. But that's really not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the importance of leading wherever you're at. Lots of you who are listening never think of yourself as leaders. You don't think, well, I don't have any leadership positions. I don't think position is really what leadership is about so much. I think a leader is about being a good steward of what you've been given. How do you spend what you have in terms of time, in terms of energy, money, talents? How do you use them? I ask myself that all the time. And when we think of leadership that way, we think of how important it is. We can then think of how important it is to model proper use of the things that we've been given. Not just to be, again, good stewards of what God's given us and to what those things He's given us responsibility, but to use them in ways that bless others, that help others step into a greater fullness of what is in them, what God has given them. And I have known a couple of leaders, people who, again, wouldn't even really call themselves leaders so much, but they are leaders who have done that for me. I don't want to take up even a few minutes talking about my personal examples, but I'll just shout out to Dr. Jack Keeler and to John Zenz and Betty Jevons, just to name a few. But I think it's important to recognize that if you really want to be a leader, or if you know that you're a leader in a leadership capacity greater than your small circle of your family and your everyday life, that it's important to recognize that relevance to who? Like popularity to who? What does it matter? What does it matter how popular you are? Do you have a few close, dear friends? Do you have close kin? Even one or a few you can trust? People who are not backstabbers, people who are not looking for something from you, but looking to give you love and looking to receive your love and affection. Do you have that? What else do you need? What do you need with popularity, right? I think rejection hurts, and it's hard to know if we're not popular that people are rejecting us, but you pay no attention to that. Pay no attention to that. That's like an illusion, the whole thing of popularity. Power, too. Oh, my goodness. What do I have here? I jotted down this page, and true leadership, really, the word leadership is bandied about as if it is the panacea for every team or every group of people. But true leadership, again, comes from as Nouwen said, and also he's taking that from Scripture, walking around with hands outstretched, letting other people lead you. That doesn't almost make sense, right? Like how is that leadership? I think it's pulling others. If you have someone at work, just take work for instance, or if you're a mom or a dad at home and you're thinking about your children and training your children, what do? Do you do every little last thing for them when they're 7 years old, or 10 years old? Or are you pouring into them to pull out of them the responsibility, the discipline, the skills, the gifts, the talents that are innately in them? You're trying to develop them, right? You might not consider yourself a leader as a dad or a mom, but that's what you're doing. Developing your child, participating in their development. And that's what happens with work too, or church. Let's take church, for example. What does it mean to be a leader in church? I think it means to be someone who's got an eye out for others, to develop them, not in their own image, but in who God says they are and what's inside of them uniquely and beautifully. You can do this with your friends as well and let them do it for you, instead of getting trapped into this idea of getting more and more expansive in terms of, what people see and what people say about you. Just care about what God says about you, okay? You know what He says? He says, I love you. I love you, my child. He says, you're mine. I created you just how you are. Let me lead you and guide you. I'll be your shepherd. That's what God says about you. My time is up now, but I wish you the very best for a wonderful day. I hope you're having it, and I hope you'll meditate on the scriptures and the thoughts that I've given you, and that you'll give me some feedback. I'd love your input. YouTube, my channel, The Secret Place. Subscribe so you can leave comments. I just learned that a month ago. You can't leave comments unless you subscribe. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we're good. And I'll see you again next time. Bye now. Have a great day.
Breathe, listen, and receive. Take a moment to soak it all in. Until next time.